What's up, SKOL Squad? It's your boy, hyped to bring you the latest from the Vikings OTA session in Egan, where the sun was shining, but the wind was howling at 15 to 20 miles per hour. Picture this. A gorgeous early June day, low 80s, but that breeze was flipping hats and knocking over equipment like a linebacker on a blitz. This was the fourth OTA practice, the second open to the media, and let me tell you, it was a roller coaster of highs and lows. So what's the big story? Our QB1, McCarthy, had a rough one. But is it a red flag or just a windy day messing with our rookie? Stick around as we unpack it all. You know how Kevin O'Connell calls this the teaching and learning phase? That's the vibe right now, no need to panic over a single practice. The wind made it tough for quarterbacks to sling it, and JJ felt that heat. In 7-on-7 drills, he threw a pick to new corner Isaiah Rodgers, who jumped a route to Jordan Addison like he was reading McCarthy's mind. There were also moments where JJ held the ball too long, Sack City in a real game, and some misses like a seam route to TJ Hawkinson that was almost there. But hold up, Vikings fans, what do you think? Is this just growing pains for our young QB? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Still, it wasn't all bad for McCarthy. He had some absolute dimes, especially a few connections with the one and only Justin Jefferson. That zip on his passes, still electric. This is a kid who looked sharp in last week's Media Open OTA. So one off day in windy conditions doesn't mean the sky's falling. With O'Connell's playbook being installed, it's all about reps and rhythm. Should we be worried? Or is JJ just shaking off the rust? Let's keep the faith, SKOL Nation, and see what he does next. Alright, let's talk about the king of wide receivers, Justin Jefferson. This man is a highlight reel every single practice, and Monday was no exception. During individual drills, he pulled off a one-handed catch on a deep ball that had everyone's jaws on the floor. Seriously, how does he make it look so effortless? Jefferson's coming off another monster season, and with 120.8 yards per game against the Lions alone in his career, he's ready to feast in 2025. But here's the question. Is he the best receiver in the NFL right now, or does someone else take that crown? Hit the comments with your take. Now, let's add some spice. Jefferson's facing some tough matchups this season, like that Week 3 reunion with his LSU boys Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase. The Vikings are 0-2 against the Bengals in those matchups, so JJ's got a score to settle. With the schedule dropping games in Dublin and London, plus a Christmas Day showdown with the Lions, Jefferson's gonna need to bring that one-handed magic every week. Can he dominate those elite corners? You know he's got the skills, but what's your prediction for his 2025 season? This OTA moment wasn't just about one play. It's a reminder of why Jefferson's the heart of this offense. With Jordan Addison potentially facing a suspension, JJ might need to carry even more of the load early on. Pro Football Focus ranked him just behind one receiver for 2025, but let's be real. He's a game-changer every time he steps on the field. SKOL fans, how many yards do you think Jefferson racks up this year? Let's hear those bold predictions below. Let's shine a spotlight on Jalen Nailor, because this dude is turning heads. Rocking a new number, ditching 83 for number 1. Nailor's in a contract year and looks like he's been hitting the gym hard. He's battling rookie Ty Felton for that number 3 receiver spot, and with Addison's potential suspension looming, Nailor could step up as the number 2 early in the season. But here's the kicker. Some whispers, like from KSTP's Darren Wolfson on SKOL North, suggest Nailor might be playing for a new contract elsewhere in 2026. What do you think, Vikings fans? Does Nailor stay or go? In Monday's OTA, Nailor had a chance to shine but got broken up by Jeff Okudah in the end zone during a red zone drill. Still, his speed and added muscle make him a dark horse to watch. He put up 75.0 fantasy points in 2024, ranking 67th among receivers, so he's got potential to climb. With the Vikings offense loaded, Jefferson, Addison, TJ Hawkinson, can Nailor carve out a bigger role? Drop your thoughts in the comments and tell me if he's the X factor we need. Here's the suspense. Nailor's future might depend on these OTAs and training camp. If he balls out, he could lock in that number 3 spot and maybe even stick with the Vikings long-term. But if Felton outshines him, Nailor might be auditioning for another team. With the season opener against the Bears on September 8, 2025, Naylor's got time to prove he's a keeper. Who's got your vote for WR3, Naylor or Felton? Let's debate it below. Now, let's talk defense because new corner Jeff Okudah is making noise. The former number 3 overall pick in 2020, now on his 4th team, was locking it down with the first-team defense alongside Isaiah Rodgers, and Byron Murphy Jr. Okudah broke up a pass to Naylor in the end zone, showing he's still got that elite talent. With Mekhi Blackmon still easing back from a torn ACL, Okudah's got a shot to claim a starting spot. Vikings fans, are you buying the Okudah hype, or does he need to prove more? The Vikings are banking on unlocking Okudah's potential, and Monday's OTA showed flashes of why. He's competing with Rodgers, who also snagged that pick off McCarthy, for a big role in Brian Flores' aggressive defense. Both guys are in the mix for punt returns too, adding another layer to their value. With tough matchups like Tyreek Hill and Ja'Marr Chase on the 2025 schedule, can Okudah step up as a shutdown corner? Share your thoughts in the comments. Here's the big question. Can the Vikings secondary, with Okudah, Rodgers, and Murphy, hold up against the NFC North's high-powered offenses? The wind might have messed with the passing game Monday, but Okudah's physicality stood out. If he and Rodgers keep balling, this defense could be sneaky good. What's your take on our cornerback group for 2025? Let's hear it. SKOL Nation. Isaiah Rodgers deserves his own moment because this dude is looking like a steal. He undercut that McCarthy pass to Addison for a pick in 7-on-7s, showing the instincts that make him a contender for a starting corner spot. Rodgers, alongside Okudah and Murphy, is part of a revamped secondary that's got Vikings fans buzzing. With his punt return skills also in play, is Rodgers the secret weapon we've been waiting for? Drop your hype level for him in the comments. This OTA was a glimpse of what Rodgers brings: speed, smarts, and playmaking. With the Vikings facing a gauntlet of receivers in 2025, think A.J. Brown, C.D. Lamb, and those Lions pass catchers, Rodgers' ability to make plays like that interception could be huge. But can he stay consistent? That's the suspense we're all watching. What do you think his ceiling is with this defense? Rodgers' emergence adds intrigue to the Vikings secondary. With Blackmon still recovering and no Pat Jones too, the depth chart is wide open. If Rodgers keeps making plays like he did Monday, he could lock down a starting role by the time we hit Dublin for that Steelers game. SKOL fans, are you ready to see Rodgers ball out? Let's talk about it below. Let's zoom in on the pass rush because Dallas Turner, Jonathan Greenid, and Andrew Van Ginkel on the field together? That's a nightmare for quarterbacks. In half-speed 11-on-11 drills, we got a taste of this trio, and it's giving major vibes for obvious passing downs. With Pat Jones too gone, the Vikings are leaning on these three to wreak havoc. Who's your favorite edge rusher in this group, Vikings fans? Hit the comments. Turner, the rookie, is already turning heads with his athleticism, while Greenid and Van Ginkel bring veteran savvy. The 2025 schedule, with games against mobile QBs like Justin Fields and Joe Burrow, means this pass rush needs to be relentless. Monday's OTA showed they're building chemistry, but can they dominate in real games? That's the question keeping us on edge. Here's the deal. If this trio clicks, the Vikings defense could jump to another level. Flores loves to dial up pressure, and with these three flying off the edge, we might see some monster sack numbers. What's your prediction for their combined sacks in 2025? Drop those bold takes in the comments, SKOL Nation. Undrafted rookie QB Max Brosmer is turning some heads too. The former Gopher, who set a program record with 268 completions last season, looked sharp in the red zone, hitting Miles Price and Ty Felton with nice throws. He's battling Brett Rippon for the QB3 spot behind McCarthy and Sam Howell, and Kevin O'Connell's high on him. Vikings fans, do you think Brosmer makes the roster or lands on the practice squad? Let me know below. Brosmer's got that quick release and poise, but he threw a couple picks in rookie minicamp, so he's still raw. O'Connell's been tracking him since his Gopher days, even watching him sling it at the 2024 and 2025 pro days. With the Vikings QB room all about youth and energy, Brosmer fits the vibe. Can he push Rippon for that third spot? That's the drama to watch. Here's the suspense. Brosmer's a local kid with a chip on his shoulder after going undrafted. If he keeps making plays like he did Monday, he might force the Vikings to keep him around. With McCarthy as QB1 and Howell as the backup, Brosmer's fighting for scraps, but his story's got that underdog energy we love. What's your take on our hometown hero? Drop it in the comments. Injury updates always hit hard, so let's talk about who's sidelined. Guard Will Fries is still out, and Mekhi Blackmon's not fully participating as he works back from that ACL tear. Rondale Moore and rookie T. Gavin Bartholomew were on a side field, and Josh Metellus and Blake Cashman skipped 7 on 7s. Metellus, by the way, is a candidate for a contract extension. Big news. Vikings fans, who's the biggest loss right now, and should we extend Metellus? These injuries could shake up the depth chart, especially in the secondary and O-line. Blackmon's recovery is key with Okudah and Rodgers stepping up, and Fry's absence might mean more reps for backups in camp. With the season opener in September, there's time, but how worried are you about these injuries? Share your thoughts below. The good news? Most of these guys should be back by training camp, but the clock's ticking. Metellus, a versatile defensive weapon, could lock in a new deal soon, which would be huge for Flores' scheme. Can the Vikings stay healthy enough to make a deep run in 2025? Let's hear your predictions. SKOL Nation. Let's talk about the 2025 schedule because it's a wild one. The Vikings are making history as the first NFL team to play back-to-back international games in different countries. Pittsburgh and Dublin on September 28th and Cleveland and London on October 5th. Owner Mark Wilf's pumped, saying London feels like a home game with our UK fans. Vikings fans, are you hyped for these overseas games? Or is the travel a concern? Drop your thoughts. This schedule's no joke. 7 national TV games, 4 in prime time, and a Christmas Day clash with the Lions. That Lions game could decide the NFC North, especially with Jefferson averaging 120.8 yards against them. Can the Vikings turn those international games into wins and set the tone for the season? That's the suspense we're all feeling. With McCarthy leading the charge and a stacked offense, these high-profile games are a chance to show the world what the Vikings are made of. But the travel and tough opponents like Burrow's Bengals and the Steelers mean it's no cakewalk. What's your game plan for surviving this schedule, SKOL fans? Let's talk strategy in the comments. Alright, let's wrap this up with the big picture. This OTA session showed the Vikings are a team in transition. McCarthy's learning, Jefferson's dominating, and new faces like Okudah and Rodgers are stepping up. The wind might have thrown a curveball, but this is about building for September and beyond. With a brutal schedule and high expectations, what's the one thing you're most excited about for the 2025 Vikings? Hit the comments with your passion. From Naylor's breakout potential to Brosmer's underdog story, this team's got no shortage of storylines. The defense with Turner, Greenid, and Van Ginkel could be a force, but injuries and McCarthy's growth are the X factors. SKOL Nation, are we a playoff team or a Super Bowl contender? Let's get that debate going below. That's it for today's Vikings news, you purple and gold legends. If you love this breakdown, smash that like button, drop your hottest takes in the comments, and subscribe for more Vikings updates. Share this with your fellow SKOL fans, and let's keep the energy high all the way to the season opener. SKOL Vikings.